When you've crossed the threshold of 70, life changes. Not just because the years behind you are many, but because clarity finally arrives. You begin to see people, patterns, and purposes with piercing truth. And as much as this age brings peace, it also demands one thing: protection of your energy. See, the final chapters of life aren't meant for regret. They're meant for peace, wisdom, and legacy. But there are certain people, certain relatives, who, if you're not careful, will drain your joy, steal your time, and leave you bitter when you should be at your most fulfilled. So today I'm going to speak boldly, not out of anger, but out of love for myself and for every elder here who still has power in their hands. This is the truth about the 6 types of relatives you must avoid after 70, because sometimes family isn't just who you love, it's also who you survive. The manipulator is often the most dangerous of the 6 because they don't come with loud voices or open demands. They come quietly, wrapped in the familiar faces of those we've known and trusted for decades. This relative doesn't raise their voice, they raise your guilt. They know your history, your soft spots, your regrets, and they use them like tools in a silent war to get what they want. After 70, life should be simpler. It should be full of memories, warmth, and the satisfaction of having lived fully. But manipulators don't care about that. They see your age not as a sign of wisdom or dignity, but as a new kind of vulnerability. They whisper things like, "You never helped me like you helped them," or "After all I've done for you," weaving a web of emotional debt that you never signed up for. They rewrite the past to suit their present needs, and if you're not careful, you'll start believing them. They won't always ask for money. Sometimes it's control they want, influence, approval. They want to sway your decisions, direct your emotions, make you feel responsible for their unhappiness, and slowly they shift the power dynamic, not by force, but by wearing you down. A little sigh here, a silent treatment there, a story about how someone else cares more than you do. It's subtle, it's slippery, and before long, you're sacrificing your peace just to keep them quiet. What makes the manipulator particularly poisonous is that they're often people you've helped for years. They might be a son or daughter, a niece or nephew, someone you once fed, raised, or supported in their darkest moments. That history makes it harder to say no, even when you know you're being played. You tell yourself they're just going through a tough time, that they'll change, that it's just this once, but it never is. Manipulators feed off your hope, your kindness, and your unwillingness to walk away. They know your heart, and they count on you being too compassionate to set boundaries. They don't respect your age, they exploit it, and they'll keep showing up with the same sad eyes and the same tired stories until you finally recognize the pattern. They are not there to lift you up, they're there to keep you tied to their chaos, to keep you from stepping into the peace you've earned. At this stage of life, you owe no one your energy at the cost of your well-being. Manipulators disguise their demands as love, but real love doesn't come with emotional blackmail. You need to see it clearly. Their need to control is not your responsibility, and their unhappiness is not your burden to carry. The constant critic is the relative who always has something to say, and it's rarely kind. They don't raise their voice, but they raise their eyebrows. They don't offer suggestions, they deliver judgments. No matter what you do, it's never quite right in their eyes. They find a flaw in your choices, your habits, your appearance, even your thoughts. And after 70, when what you truly deserve is dignity and respect, this type of person can slowly erode your sense of worth. You might invite them over with good intentions, expecting a nice visit, but somehow they always leave you feeling smaller. They mask their criticism as just being honest or saying it out of love, but you can feel the sting in every word. They comment on your health, your home, how you spend your time, what you should have done in the past, and what you're still doing wrong in the present. It doesn't matter how much you've accomplished or sacrificed. According to them, you've missed something, mishandled something, or misunderstood something. This kind of relative often speaks from their own insecurities, but that doesn't make it any easier to take. They carry their unresolved bitterness like a badge of honor and project it onto others. You can almost predict it now. Every phone call, every visit comes with that subtle undertone of disapproval. Even when you do something well, they find a way to downplay it or shift the attention elsewhere. You offer kindness, they offer critique. You share joy, and they point out what's missing. The worst part, their words linger. Long after they've left, you hear their voice in your head questioning your decisions. They make you second-guess yourself, and at this age, that's dangerous. You've lived enough life to trust your gut, but the constant critic will make you feel like you've never learned enough, like you're still trying to prove something, like your life is still open to grading and they're holding the red pen. They'll often compare you to others, siblings, cousins, or even themselves, using other people's paths as weapons to make you feel inadequate. They might say things like, well, I would never do it that way, or you should be more like so-and-so. These aren't suggestions, they're subtle jabs designed to make you feel less than. And the danger isn't just in what they say, it's in what it makes you stop doing. You start shrinking. You stop sharing your thoughts. You question your hobbies, your joy, your desires, and eventually you begin to silence yourself just to avoid hearing their voice. They don't realize or don't care that after 70, peace is a necessity, not a luxury. You've earned the right to live without a running commentary on your life, but the constant critic will sit on your shoulder like a shadow, ready to judge your next move. The financial leech is the relative who sees your retirement not as a reward for your hard work, but as an open opportunity for their personal gain. They don't look at your savings as your security, they look at it as a resource they're entitled to. Whether it's subtle requests or outright demands, their mission is the same: to siphon off your financial stability under the guise of family connection. After 70, your focus should be on comfort, not constantly calculating how much you can afford to lose just to keep someone else afloat. They often begin with a story, a hardship, a bad break, an unexpected emergency. You might feel sympathy at first, maybe even a sense of duty. You help them once, thinking it's temporary. But for the financial leech, your generosity isn't a gift, it's an invitation. They come back again and again, spinning new versions of the same problem: car trouble, rent short, a surefire investment. They always need just a little help, and it's never the last time. What makes this relative dangerous is how they twist the meaning of family. They say things like, "You're the only one I can count on," or "Isn't that what family is for?" They lean on your love, your guilt, and your fear of being seen as selfish. But the truth is, they're not looking for support. They're looking for a shortcut, and they're willing to drain you slowly, month after month, until your own financial freedom starts to crumble. Sometimes they use charm. They flatter you, call more often, show sudden interest in your life, all timed perfectly before a new request. Other times they use pressure. They imply that your refusal means you don't care, that saying no makes you heartless or forgetful of the times they were there for you. But real love doesn't come with invoices, and real family doesn't demand access to what you've earned. The financial leech also plays a dangerous role in your peace of mind. They turn your money into a source of stress. You start checking your account more often, worrying about what they'll ask for next, losing sleep over how to say no without causing a fight. Retirement should be about freedom. Freedom from financial anxiety, from obligation, from pressure. But with this kind of person in your life, that freedom is always just out of reach. You may even notice them circling more closely after a milestone, after a pension kicks in, after the sale of a property, after you mention a financial win. They pay attention to what you have, not out of pride, but out of opportunity. They're not interested in your well-being, they're interested in your balance sheet. And while they might claim it's just until things get better, somehow, things never do. Because the moment one need is met, another one arises. What's worse is that they often don't plan to repay you, even if they promise to. They assume your age means you won't push back, that your kindness will keep you quiet, and far too often, it does. The drama magnet is the relative who brings a storm wherever they go. No matter the occasion, no matter how peaceful the moment, they find a way to stir up conflict, chaos, or emotional turmoil. After 70, life should be calmer, slower, more meaningful. But with this person in your orbit, peace is a constant battle. They thrive on attention, and they don't care whether they get it through laughter or through crisis. What they fear most is being irrelevant, so they create situations that make themselves the center of everything. This relative will show up late and demand that everyone adjust. They'll share secrets that should have stayed private, start arguments at family gatherings, and constantly involve you in battles that aren't yours to fight. They may have endless feuds with other family members and pull you into their emotional whirlpools. They talk in extremes, love in bursts, and crash in emotional breakdowns. And every time you think the drama is over, another wave hits. They call you not to check in, but to offload. Their conversations are long, filled with complaints, accusations, and exaggerated tales of who wronged them. Every call is an emergency. Every message carries a sense of urgency that demands your attention now. And the more you give, the more they take. They don't want advice, they want an audience. Your concern becomes their fuel, and your energy becomes their lifeline. The drama magnet often lacks self-awareness. They don't see the damage they cause, the tension they inject into every interaction. They may say they hate drama, but their lives are proof to the contrary. They're often in the middle of conflict with others, but the common denominator is always them. Still, they'll make it seem like they're the victim, misunderstood, mistreated, constantly targeted by others. And they'll expect you to pick sides, offer sympathy, and validate their distorted version of events. What makes this relative particularly draining after 70 is the emotional exhaustion they bring. You've lived long enough to know that not every fire needs to be put out, not every offense needs to be avenged, but the drama magnet hasn't learned that lesson. They are still addicted to the noise, and they'll try to pull you back into that chaos even when all you want is quiet. They'll interrupt your peace with stories of betrayal, with demands for loyalty, with endless emotional messes that only they can create. And slowly, their presence starts to affect your health, your mood, your time. You find yourself bracing for their visits, dreading their phone calls, anticipating the next emotional mess. Your home no longer feels like a sanctuary, your days no longer feel your own. You start sacrificing your comfort to maintain the illusion of connection. You walk on eggshells to avoid setting them off, but nothing ever truly keeps them calm, because calm is not what they seek. They live in crisis because crisis keeps them relevant. The ghost relative is the one who vanishes from your life until they want something. They don't call, they don't visit, they don't ask how you're doing, but the moment they hear about an inheritance, a health scare, or a major life event, they reappear with a smile and a story. They've mastered the art of selective presence. When everything is fine, or when you have nothing to give, they're nowhere to be found. But when there's something to gain, suddenly they remember your name. This relative will often disguise their return as concern. They'll ask how you've been, bring a small gift, maybe even shed a few tears, but their timing is always suspicious. They show up not out of love, but out of opportunity. They'll say things like, "I've been meaning to come by," or "I was just thinking about you." But those words only come when you've become valuable in some way, whether financially, emotionally, or for appearances. You might be tempted to welcome them in, thinking maybe this time is different. Maybe they've changed. Maybe they really do care. But the ghost relative follows a pattern. Once they get what they want, whether it's your signature, your support, or your money, they disappear again. Calls go unanswered, promises are forgotten, and once again, you're left wondering why you ever let them back in. After 70, your life should be surrounded by people who are consistent, not just present when it suits them. The ghost relative takes advantage of your age, assuming you won't question their intentions. They count on your sentimentality, your memories, and your desire for family unity. But family isn't about blood alone, it's about presence, loyalty, and care. And this person has proven time and again that they lack all three. The danger of the ghost relative is not just in what they take, it's in how they make you feel. Their sudden reappearance can stir up old wounds, remind you of times you were neglected or taken for granted. They might even trigger hope that the relationship can be restored, that time can, but hope without action is just another form of manipulation. They give you just enough attention to keep the door open, but never enough to build anything real. These relatives often have a way of making you question yourself. Did I do something wrong? Was I too distant? But the truth is, their absence speaks louder than any excuse. Life gets busy, yes, but it never gets too busy for those who truly care. If they only come around when there's something in it for them, then they're not family. They're opportunists hiding behind the mask of kinship. You deserve more than temporary affection. You deserve relationships that are steady, reliable, and real. The ghost relative drains your emotional energy not by what they say, but by the silence they keep until they need something. They remind you that love, in its purest form, is shown in presence, not in performance.